Greetings, programs, and welcome back to Blistered Reviews, an unrepented geeking video game review show. As always, I am your host, Shaun, and this week's review is a particular relief because it means I can take a break from that other thing I've been looking at this week. If you don't know what I'm talking about, head on over to unrepentedgeeking.com and check out my review of Spider-Man Sins Past, Parts 1 through 3, in which I tackle the worst Spider-Man comic ever made, and you're damn right I'll stand by that claim. But that is a topic for another day and another show. We are here today to look at video games, and one game in particular, the much-anticipated latest release in the Persona series, and no, I don't mean the just-delayed Persona 5. And so, without further ado, let us take a look at Persona 4, Dancing All Night.
Hey, have you heard that rumor?
Huh? Which one?
When you look at some website at midnight, there's this weird video that plays on its own. It's hard to really make out much at first, but you can totally see this idol. When you watch the video to the end, you get taken away to the other side, and you never wake up.
Please, you senpai, could you help me out? I want to save them.
Of course. Count me in. Izanagi! When a group of idols goes missing, we get the investigation team back together to find and save them in a strange world called the Midnight Stage. Meanwhile, back in the real world, Nanako and Konami team up in pursuit of the truth behind this new case. We will save all the victims and solve the mystery of the Midnight Stage. Now let's go! It's showtime!
It would be fair to say the Japanese-based video game developer Atlus has proven itself not afraid to take chances with arguably its most popular franchise, namely the nearly 10-year-old Persona series. Previously, we've seen 2 fighting games and a mashup with another well-loved Atlus property, Etrian Odyssey, given the Persona name. Each of these experiments was mostly well-received, with all 3 games currently resting between 84 and 86% on Metacritic as of the publication date of this review. And so, having now proven the inherent flexibility of the Persona universe, Atlus has committed to the most unlikely genre yet for the series' latest spin-off, Persona 4 Dancing All Night. As the name would imply, P4D is, of all things, a rhythm game, and as I established in the last episode of Blistered Reviews, this is not normally my genre of choice. 2 rhythm game reviews in 1 month, from a man with no rhythm. Such is the life of the internet critic, I suppose. Still, I have experienced enough games of this type, both firsthand and via watching others play, to feel I have a decent handle on the ins and outs of what makes for a good rhythm title. Which means I feel confident in saying that Persona 4 Dancing All Night is indeed a worthy example of the genre, with the caveat that fans of the Persona series, and its 4th entry in particular, will be the ones to get the most out of this Vita-exclusive title. That's because, unquestionably, the main reason to purchase Persona 4 Dancing All Night is for its lengthy 8 to 10 hour story mode, which brings back the main cast of Persona 4 for yet another adventure. Set sometime after the events of the Arena titles, but before Persona 4 Golden's post-game epilogue, Dancing All Night brings to the forefront a previously minor character in the series, up-and-coming idol Konami Mashita, who in the original game served as a replacement of sorts for the idol Rize when she took her eventual break from the profession in the town of Inaba. As P4D opens, Rize is about to make her long-awaited return to the idol scene as part of a major music festival, and has somehow finagled to bring the rest of the investigation team with her up on stage to serve as backup dancers. This unlikely setup is the game's justification for why and how our heroes are now suddenly capable of busting moves, sort of, like the pros. This performance is also what brings you and company into direct contact with Konami, and as you might expect in a Persona game, supernatural shenanigans are soon afoot, as the 4 members of Konami's idol group are kidnapped by a mysterious and powerful force and taken into another world known as the Midnight Stage, a world where violence is not allowed. And so you and company must call upon the power of music and dance in order to defeat the monsters of the Midnight Stage, rescue the kidnapped girls, and solve the mystery of the dead dancing idol. Woo! Spooky. Does all of that sound silly and somewhat nonsensical even by the standards of this series? You bet! But if that's the kind of issue you just can't look past in the name of a good time, this may not be the game for you. To its credit, Dancing All Night is careful to acknowledge at various points just how ridiculous this whole thing really is. It certainly doesn't hurt to have your suspension of disbelief cranked all the way to maximum when playing the game. For that matter, the actual plot driving everything is both familiar and at times somewhat repetitive, with the rescue of the 4 girls in particular featuring the same pattern of meet up for the first time, dance, get girls captured, more dance, girls get turned into monster, dance for the 3rd and final time, before moving on to the next girl where the pattern repeats. But as always with a Persona game, it's the character work that really shines through. At this point, the main cast should be as familiar to fans as old friends, and it's never a bad thing to spend more time with them. Yes, the talk of bonds and friendship can get a little heavy-handed on occasion this time around, but it's worth it to get to see the investigation team again for potentially the last time, what with the upcoming release of Persona 5 seemingly primed to be the focus of the franchise for the foreseeable future. Furthermore, the story ends up actually spending a significant amount of time back in the real world with Konami, who is joined in her quest to unravel just what's going on by series favorite police detective Ryotaro Dojima and his daughter, the ever-adorable Nanako. The latter even gets to join in on the dancing fun at several points, and trust me, you have not truly lived until you've experienced firsthand the weapons-grade level of cuteness that is Nanako dancing to electronica remix of the June's theme. Yes, they went there. Also, while the plot of the game may feel familiar, the underlying mystery that drives it manages to be both emotionally affecting and filled with some surprising twists, and it all builds to a legitimately epic finale that I would not dream of spoiling here. In short, while not the best story to ever feature the Persona 4 cast, Dancing All Night's narrative is nonetheless a worthy addition to the franchise's lore, and one that fans of the series cannot afford to miss. In terms of gameplay, P4D has more in common with older examples of the genre, such as the Dance Dance Revolution and the Bust a Groove games, than, say, more recent entries such as Project Diva, Elite Beat Agents, or Theta Rhythm. Unlike those latter games, Dancing All Night forgoes any touchscreen functionality in favor of using the Vita's face buttons, directional pad, and analog sticks. During the gameplay, notes will travel outward from the center of the screen towards a circular ring situated near the edge of the screen, and players must press the corresponding face button or D-pad direction just as a note crosses the ring. And of course, as is standard for the genre, oftentimes players will need to simultaneously strike multiple notes or hold a single button or direction down for a set period of time before releasing it. In addition to the notes, rings of 2 types will also appear that are activated using the analog sticks, and either grant bonus points or help build the fever time meter, which once full and activated, grants for a limited time significantly higher points for successful combos. Unlike the notes, however, missing a ring does not negatively impact the player's score, nor does it break the current combo. Overall, it's a well-designed system that makes terrific use of the Vita's expansive screen, while also being flexible enough to accommodate a wide range of skill sets. So it is that on easier difficulty settings, even a rhythm-impaired individual, such as me, can find success with P4D. Such a player might even make the mistake of thinking themselves having become fairly badass at the game. At least until they try its harder settings, where the high speed, constant barrage of variety and special notes, and unforgiving margin of error will leave their fingers screaming and their egos suitably tempered. I can't say it's the most original system ever, and it certainly isn't as boldly creative and clever as the kind of gameplay I saw in Project Mirai DX, but personally, I found myself getting surprisingly addicted to P4D's approach to rhythm gameplay in a way the former game never managed. So, you rhythm fiends out there fearing Dancing All Night might only offer a watered-down experience need worry not as far as the gameplay is concerned. What might be more of an issue for those coming to P4D for its gameplay first and foremost, and its story and characters second, if at all, is the number of tracks available for play. Via both story mode and free dance mode, more on that shortly, players will eventually be able to unlock a total of 26 tracks consisting of 21 unique songs, all taken from Persona 4, Golden, and Arena, and a number of which have been given new dance-style remixes specifically for this title, and 5 additional remixes. Players will also be able to purchase 5 more tracks from the Persona 4 anime in a live performance, Day 1, along with 3 DLC characters, each of which comes with their own unique track. That's 34 tracks in all, provided players are willing to shell out some extra dough, but even that might seem like a scant number compared to, say, for example, the 50-plus tracks available in Project Mirai DX. Of course, those 34 tracks include some of the best video game tunes of recent years, but there's no denying that Atlus could have dug deeper when it came to the song list. For example, not a single tune for Persona 3 is included in the game. Apparently, Atlus is teasing the possibility of a Persona 3 Dancing All Night should this game do well, but I can't help but feel like that would be pushing their luck. Still, what is present in the game in terms of music is top-notch, with some of the new remixes in particular doing an impressive job of taking songs that originally would not have seemed well suited to being the accompaniment to a high-energy dance number and making them work without completely burying the original song. And then there's the game's free dance mode, which features hundreds of items for players to unlock using in-game currency earned from a successful dance. Many of these include a wide range of cosmetic items, including various costumes and outfits taken from past Persona titles. Of more important gameplay terms are the 40 or so items which can act as modifiers on the gameplay. Some make things easier, such as letting you miss up to 3 notes without breaking a combo, or giving you a second chance if you drop below the fail line once during a song. Others make things more difficult by making the notes invisible or increasing the speed at which they travel across the screen, and together with the game's 3 difficulty settings, allow players to truly customize gameplay to their liking. Also, enough good things cannot be said about the game's visuals, with the story portions of P4D featuring large and expressive sprites, but it's the dance sequences where the game truly comes to life. Put simply, the characters of Persona 4 have never looked better, with each model a sight to behold, and all having simply gorgeous animation, bringing everyone to full life like never before. The game has a replay mode once you successfully complete a song, and more than once I availed myself of the feature in order to be able to fully enjoy the spectacle without having to constantly worry about hitting the right buttons. The dance numbers feel like a good compromise between the way a professional dancer would move and an amateur would perform. There's just a real joy to watching these characters perform with such abandon while terrific music plays, and I know I for one found myself constantly being sucked into the game as a result. Finally, the usual Persona 4 dubcast returns, and as always they bring their respective characters to life with seeming ease. With the increasing rarity in this day and age of original exclusives for the Vita, any new major release for the system will probably draw serious attention from owners, much less one as high quality as P4D. For any such owner who also happens to be a Persona fan, this game is a no-brainer, even if normally they wouldn't bother with a rhythm title. For non-Persona fans, though, well, that's a trickier issue. While free mode would not be without its charms, it's hard to imagine the game's story mode holding much appeal to complete newcomers to the franchise. Only token efforts are made to recap what has come before, and I can't imagine a newcomer not becoming lost throughout a narrative that is, to be fair, essentially meant to serve as one final encore performance from a beloved cast of characters. Even worse, what references to past adventures are present cover just enough material to constitute significant spoilers to some of the most important moments in Persona 4, and that's going to be an issue for anyone who might want to give the game a try down the line. And considering the vastly enhanced remake of Persona 4 remains a Vita exclusive, that should include anyone who owns the system and has even the slightest interest in RPGs. And without the story mode to bolster it, free dance mode on its own may not be enough to hold the attention of non-fans long enough to justify the game's $50 price tag. I'm not going to go so far as to mark the game as for fans only, but it was a close call, and I would at least recommend serious thought before taking the plunge. In the end, Persona 4 Dancing All Night manages to make its ridiculous premise almost seem natural, and overall, it's both a terrific example of fan service and a lovely final farewell before the franchise moves on to its future. Score, 8 out of 10. Awesome. Recommendation? Try it out. And that's going to do it for this episode of Blistered Reviews. As always, you can find new episodes of my show at YouTube under Storyteller SJK and over at Channel Awesome. Plus, of course, head to unrepentantgeeking.com for the source for all things unrepentant geeking, naturally enough. And of course, if you're interested in giving the show even more support, please consider heading on over to my Patreon at patreon.com/unrepentantgeeking. Any support you can give will be greatly appreciated, even just a couple dollars a month. It can help me continue to purchase games to review and new equipment for me to expand the show and all sorts of things and just keep the lights on. Even if you don't have money, please, if you're watching this on iTunes, like and review. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe and leave a comment. Just please tell other people about this show and what I do. And hey, I'll be your best friend. Yeah, okay, I can't actually back that up. But I'll be really, really grateful. And that's something, right? Right? Yeah, that's something. That's totally something. Stay tuned next week as I conclude my review of Sins Past and then... Well, then a monstrous October returns. And believe you me, we're gonna have some fun this Halloween. Until then, for Channel Awesome and Blistered Reviews, I'm Shaun Cronenfeld, wishing you all happy gaming.
This carousel takes us round and round. This labyrinth of life, you can't tell up from down. Having so much fun.
There is nothing wrong with your internet connection. Do not attempt to change the browser window. We are now controlling this streaming video. We control the horizontal and the vertical. We can deluge you with 1,000 videos or expand one single thumbnail to high definition and beyond. We can shape your playlist to anything our imagination can conceive. We will control all that you see and hear. For 31 days, you will experience the awe and mystery that reaches from videos past to Halloween 2015 at Channel Awesome. Please stand by.